Welcome back, every Bendy Body. This is the Bendy Bodies podcast, and I'm your host and founder, Dr. Linda Bluestein, the Hypermobility MD. This is going to be a great episode, so be sure to stick around until the very end so you don't miss any of our special hypermobility hacks. As always, this information is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personalized medical advice. Today is a wrap of Season 4, and I'm really excited to share with you what we are going to be planning for Season 5. But first, I want to thank you so very much for listening to the podcast. And I'm so excited about the next chapter of this show. We have now reached the milestone of over 100 episodes. And I just love to think about how the podcast has grown, evolved, and changed lives. Your messages mean so much to me, letting me know how much the podcast has helped you. And for so many healthcare professionals, how that's helped you help other people. Season 1 through 3, we really focused on reaching high-risk populations like dancers, circus performers, gymnasts, and other performing artists. And I have so much gratitude towards Jennifer Milner, who was my co-host for those first 3 seasons and was a guest co-host for Season 4 and beyond. In Season 4, we did a deeper dive into various different medical topics. Well, now entering the 5th season, I'm so excited to share with you so many more things that we've learned from the previous seasons, as well as having more episodes where I'm in the hot seat and can share my experiences both as a fellow patient with hypermobile EDS and my expertise as a physician specializing in the Ehlers-Danlos syndromes, hypermobility spectrum disorders, and related conditions. I'm also really excited to share that I now have a professional production team called Human Content, so I can focus on the content and really work to expand the listening audience. We have a lot of really great guests and topics lined up that I can't wait to share with you. And I want to share my gratitude for all the incredible reviews and comments, and I want to mention a few specifically. So someone left a review about episode 97. And this was from Stephanie Duval 12. And she said, this episode would be a great introduction for current doctors or any upcoming students who wish to work with patients. For example, doctors, physical therapists, physician's assistants, nurses, etc. And this was the episode on learning to spot the signs and symptoms of Ehlers-Danlos syndromes. We also had a great comment about episode 94. And this was from Burly Girly. I love that name, by the way. And Burly Girly says, I love this podcast so much. Could you get Dr. Richard Shue from Danbury, Connecticut on here to talk about MALS, or median arcuate ligament syndrome? He does surgery differently from other MALS specialists. Burly Girly, I have a message back for you. I would love to talk to Dr. Shue on the podcast. I don't have any personal relationship with him, although I do have definitely patients in common with him. If anyone happens to know him and wants to make an introduction, that would be great, because he would be somebody I would love to have on the show. And another reviewer said about episode 86, and this is K. Del Signore, I believe. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Have to listen again and again. So full of advice on how to best advocate for ourselves after all the medical trauma, and many insights and how best to cope. Is she taking new patients? I'll have to find out about that for you. And Anne says about episode 84, thank you so much, Dr. Hansen. I have just diagnosed myself with slipping rib syndrome. My physio agrees, and I feel so validated. The day my ribs slipped, my dysautonomia went crazy, and you described all my symptoms. And Ashley Jones says of this same episode, this is incredible. Thank you so much to everyone who has written a review, left a comment, sent a message on social media. That really helps us to shape the show and make sure that it is the most beneficial program that you could possibly have. And I would love to hear from you. What do you want to see for future episodes? What do you want to see in the way of a format? What do you want to see in terms of content and guests? And in the meantime, please help us spread the word about joint hypermobility and related disorders. You're leaving a review and sharing the podcast really helps awareness about these complex conditions that we know are still really, really frequently missed and often misunderstood. You can find me, Dr. Linda Bluestein, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn at HypermobilityMD. You can find Human Content, my new production team, at Human Content Pods on TikTok and Instagram. You can also find full video episodes that are going to be published every week on YouTube at Bendy Bodies Podcast. I wanted to let you know about these exciting changes for season 5 because we will be taking a short break at the conclusion of season 4 before launching season 5. And just as a reminder, this podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. This is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice or diagnosis. Do not disregard or delay obtaining medical advice for any medical condition you have. The opinions shared are that of the guest and do not necessarily represent the views of the host or any particular organization. Sponsorship of the podcast does not necessarily mean an endorsement. Bendy Bodies Podcast is a human content production. Thank you for being a part of our community, and we'll catch you next time on the Bendy Bodies Podcast.